All right, good morning once again. I think we can start now because I'm conscious of time and I know data is quite expensive in Ghana. So those of you who have made it, I think we can start whilst those who are still willing to join us. So by way of introduction, my name is Ishmael Muslim and I'm the General Manager at Best Education Services. I will be facilitating this webinar this morning. I'm just going to take 2 minutes to introduce Best Education because I believe some of you might be hearing the name for the first time and actually engaging with us for the first time. So it's important to introduce the organization. So we have been in operation for a little over 6 years now. Our main role or what we do is to advise students like yourself who have an interest to study off the shores of Ghana in several countries, of course, Australia being one of those countries. We also do have universities we work with in the UK, US, Canada, Dubai, Germany, Netherlands as well. So today, the focus is on Australia and Flinders University, which is one out of over 15 universities we represent in Australia. Joining me to present today's webinar is Melissa Wobbly. She will be introducing herself pretty shortly. The services we provide, amongst others, in bringing you accurate and up-to-date information on the universities. We also advise you on course selection. So sometimes when you are not too sure what course to study, given your academic and professional background, we can come in to give you some advice on what courses are available that would meet your career objective. We also go through the administrative process of lodging your application to the university and following up to ensure that you do get admissions into the program that you want to study. It doesn't end there. We take it forward to advising you on what we call the GTE assessment, i.e. Some of the universities we want to know whether you are genuinely seeking to study at their university. And so there are some criteria you have to meet in that regard. So we would actually provide you guidance and advice on how to meet the university's requirements before it gets to the visa application. So when it gets to the visa application, we do process your visa applications as well. So we provide you with information, guidance, advice on how to be successful with your visa application. We also assist with accommodation arrangement, flight arrangement, and also we organize a pre-departure briefing before your travel. So you could see that what we offer is a complete package, and what I like to refer as a complete peace of mind, knowing that everything is being handled and is being handled professionally, and that you would be successful at the end of the day. So this is just a brief introduction of Best Education and what we do here in our organization and how we work with our prospective students. So Melissa, I would like you to introduce yourself and then perhaps we can go into the agenda for today.
Absolutely. Thank you, Ishmael. As I said, my name is Melissa Willoughby. I'm the Country Recruitment Manager here at Flinders University in Adelaide, South Australia. All right. So yes, I won't introduce myself again. I'll move forward. I have quite a few slides and I know people would probably like to get to questions. So I'll go through them relatively quickly, but feel free at the end to ask me any questions in regards to study or particular programs. But this just gives you a bit of a sense of where we're located. So we're in Adelaide, South Australia. So it hasn't got Accra on the map there, unfortunately, but you can get a bit of a sense. So it's a bit of a distance from Accra. I've done that trip a few times. However, basically on a flight with some good movies, it doesn't really take that long. So as mentioned, I'm from Flinders University. So Flinders is ranked 266 worldwide. We have over 500 programs at undergraduate, postgraduate and research level. We're ranked #1 in South Australia for teaching quality, student support and starting salary, as well as the #1 South Australia university in South Australia for overall experience. And Adelaide, the city where we're based, is the 3rd most livable city in the world and the #1 ranked city in the world in Australia, as well as the #1 most affordable city in Australia. So there's lots of good reasons to study in Adelaide. In my opinion, the best city to choose for Adelaide for a number of reasons. We are one of the smaller cities, but still a vibrant city. We call the festival city, so there's lots of events and activities throughout the year. As I mentioned, the most affordable city in Australia, and also you are eligible for the extra year of post-study work rights if you do study in one of the smaller cities like Adelaide, Perth, Darwin or Hobart in Tasmania. But I think the good thing, well, a lot of the good things about Adelaide is we've got, still a vibrant economy, still lots of activities, events, beautiful beaches. Like, it's a really safe, welcoming, friendly environment to live in, as well as you get that extra year of post-study work. So there's so many reasons why I think Adelaide's a good place to be. Now, just out of interest, I thought I would put this slide in because you may be aware that currently and for the last 12 months, the Australian borders have been closed due to the pandemic, and things are now moving in the right direction in terms of Australia being able to open up. So basically, Australian borders will open up once we get to the 80% vaccination rate. So we're really on track now, and in the next couple of months before Christmas, we should achieve that. So we're expecting to start to see Australian borders open up and people being able to travel within the next month or so. We've also had approval for our international student arrival plan, and we are expecting to see students who have commenced their studies online starting to come into the country before the end of the year as well. So, okay, I will move forward. Sorry for my delay. So basically, as of the current situation, we've got students on campus, and luckily for us, we've had basically our campus open the whole time, which has been excellent for students. So all the students who are here that are in Australia, they are on campus studying as usual. And then for offshore, the students have started online and will be joining us on campus as soon as they can. So that returning student program will be part of them coming into the country. So a few facts about Flinders University. Established in 1966, we have approximately 26,000 students. Of those 26,000, we have 5,400 students from more than 90 countries. And we teach 500 programs at undergraduate, postgraduate and research level. This is an aerial view of our campus. So it's about 40 hectares. So it is a very large campus, and there is a loop bus to take you wherever you need to go. So we're nestled between the hills and the ocean, about 20 minutes from the CBD. There's a train station that goes direct to campus, as well as buses that take you to campus. You can live on campus. We have residential living on campus, or there is also housing all nearby to campus as well. It's a really beautiful campus to study on. And basically, it's like that US style. You come into campus and everything that you need is on there. The chemist, the restaurants, cafes, post office, there's hospital on campus, everything is on campus. So it's it's a beautiful environment to study in. So we teach across those 500 programs across 6 colleges. The College of Nursing and Health Science, Medicine and Public Health, Business, Government and Law, Science, Engineering and IT, Education, Psychology and Social Work, and Humanities, Arts and Social Sciences. So today I'm going to be talking mostly about nursing, but I'm also going to cover off on a few other of our health programs, as well as our social work program. So firstly, we're very well ranked in regards to our nursing program. So our nursing program is ranked number 30 worldwide. And number 1 in South Australia for nursing as well. But yeah, number 30 worldwide for nursing. And we have been running our nursing program for over 40 years. We have state-of-the-art facilities. Nursing in Australia is an incredible career. All of our nursing programs are accredited by the Nursing and Midwifery Board of Australia, as well as all the allied health degrees are accredited by the professional health bodies in Australia and overseas. So you can just rest assured that it's very, the learning that you would get and the facilities that you have at Flinders are exceptional. So why study nursing at Flinders? So firstly, our nursing program and all of our health programs have a lot of practical skills, as you would imagine, and clinical skills. And this comes into your program right from the beginning. So our students as well have excellent graduate outcomes because of the graduate readiness. So because of the extra practical components, as well as the placement components that students do within their programs at Flinders. So there is that interdisciplinary learning. So you do get to choose topics across other areas of health. So for instance, you might be interested in, say, mental health or palliative care. So you can pull in specializations within the area that you're studying. We have really excellent support staff at Flinders University. A student support team is there to help you. Also within the college, there is a personalised staff that are dedicated to working with you to make sure you get the best outcomes. We also have very strong research within our medicine and public health, as well as our nursing within the nursing areas. Also, as I mentioned before, you are eligible to apply for registration as a practicing nurse in Australia. So this gives you a little bit of an idea of what our simulation labs look like on campus. So this is not a hospital. Even though we do have the hospital on campus, this is not the hospital. This is the learning facility. So they set up the classroom like a hospital room. You can see the mannequins in the beds, and they're quite incredible. They can respond, choke, cough, sneeze, talk, do all sorts of things. So it's for you to be able to practice. So we have state-of-the-art facilities within the simulation lab. So it really gives you as a student that ability to start that hands-on practical right from the beginning. So the placements, as mentioned, are throughout your program. So you can see there that there's placements in your first year, you've got 10 days. In your year 2, you've got 2 sets of 20 days. And in year three, third year, you've got 2 sets of 40 days. So a very strong placement component. You may do your placements like close to campus or within the metropolitan, or if you are able to, you could get a placement in a more rural or remote area. It just depends on what your specifications are and if you are able to travel that way or live out that way. But there's lots of opportunities for placements in a very varied settings. So career as a nursing, as I mentioned before, as a nurse in Australia, we are needing a lot more nurses in Australia. So it's an in-demand industry, and it is a very varied career that you can have within nursing. So you can work across community health, aged care, intensive care, emergency departments, mental health, pediatric and cardiac care. There is more areas than that. That's just scratching the surface, but it gives you a bit of a sense of all the different areas. And you can see from the picture to the left, all different areas that you can work in as a nurse. So it is a very varied career and one that has very strong graduate outcomes. So the two key programs, the programs that most students study at Flinders, is our graduate entry 2-year program. So we take students from a related bachelor degree. So if you've done something health related, perhaps not nursing, you can go into this graduate entry program. You do need to do a little foundation topics around biology, human biology, but they can be completed online prior to starting. And then you do need to also have an IELTS test showing a result of 7 overall and 7 in each band score. So it's got quite a high English requirement. And the same for our 3-year pre-registration program. So the pre-registration program will take you from your WASI, or if you've done a diploma, you can apply for the 3-year program as well. And they can assess your diploma to see if there is any topics that are available for credit. It's not guaranteed though. So it is something that would go to the college for assessment. There is no prerequisite requirements, and except for that you would need to also have that IELTS 7 overall and 7 in each band score. So I think I've pretty much covered all of that. The 3-year pre-registration nursing program is eligible for our Go Beyond scholarships. So the scholarships start at 20%. There's also the 25% and up to 50%. So these are academic merit scholarships. So obviously to meet the 50%, to be eligible for the 50%, you'd need to be a very high achieving student. But basically what happens is when your application would go to admissions, they would assess you for the 20 or 25%. And if you're eligible for the 50%, they would give you 25% on your offer, and then you would apply for 50%. And if you were to receive that, you would they'd remove the 25% and you'd have the 50% full duration. So we can go into more detail about that in the questions if you like. So we do teach medicine programs as well. We teach our Bachelor of Clinical Science MD program, which takes you from WASI as well and all the way through to MD. So that's a 6-year program. It does have a relatively high academic requirement, as well as the IELTS 7 overall. There is no ISAT, any international admissions test for that, but you do need an interview with the college. For the MD program, that is a like just the 4 years going into the MD. You can go in with any bachelor degree, any related health bachelor degree, as long as you've got a GPA credit, so around 70%, 72% or above. You do need to also meet the IELTS 7 requirement. You need to sit a GAMSAT or MCAT, and then the interviews as well. And that's a 4-year MD program. We also teach a wide range of undergraduate and postgraduate allied health programs. So we have the largest range of allied health programs in South Australia and one of the largest in Australia. So we teach across audiology, exercise science, health science, nutrition and dietetics, occupational therapy, optometry, physiotherapy, speech pathology, and clinical rehabilitation. We also teach programs within public health. So we have an undergraduate 3-year Bachelor of Public Health and a 2-year Master of Public Health. So that could be a good program if you have done a health-related undergraduate program and you're now looking to go into a master's within a health-related field as well. Our social work degrees, this is another area. We could go into so many areas. We have a lot of programs, the 500, but I've just picked some key programs for today. And we do teach a Bachelor of Social Work, which is a 4-year program, or a Master of Social Work, which is a 2-year program. So they both do also have that high IELTS 7 requirement, but you can sit a Duolingo online language test to meet that requirement. You don't have to sit an IELTS test to meet that requirement. And on that note, all of our programs, with the exception of nursing, you can sit the Duolingo online test. The reason why I would encourage that is because basically it is a lot more affordable, it is quite achievable, and the results are out very quickly. And it goes direct to our admissions team. So the only requirement, so Bachelor of Social Work, you can go straight from your WASI and you just need to meet the equivalent of the IELTS 7, the English requirement. For the Masters, you do need to have a relevant undergraduate degree to go into that program. So it could be something, if it could be something, it needs to be social sciences related. So you may have done psychology, you may have done, something within education. So it is relatively broad, but it does need to be within a social sciences field. So that's the end of my presentation. And now we can open up to questions.
Thank you very much, Melissa, for a detailed presentation within such a short period, very concise. We like to make this session as interactive as possible. So we'll encourage you to either raise up your hand or leave your question. So my colleague Madonna will be helping us with a question.
So someone wanted to find out if IELTS is part of the requirements.
I will give a bit more detail on that, because if you have studied in the last 5 years, this is for if you've studied in the last 5 years, either WASI level or above, like bachelor level, that would give you meet an English requirement up to a 6.5, the equivalent of a 6.5 IELTS level. However, if your program does have that high 7 requirement, at that point you would need to sit an English test. Now, in saying that, you don't need to sit a IELTS test. You could sit, if you have a requirement for an IELTS 7 to meet that for your program, you could actually sit the Duolingo online test, which is a lot more, I think it's about 50 USD. So it's quite affordable. It's quick. The results are 48 hours, and it's also quite achievable. So I would suggest that for all programs, with the exception of nursing, where the professional body, the Australian Nursing and Midwifery Board, requires you to sit an IELTS or a PTE test or an OET test.
Right.
Okay, so just to add a little bit on the pricing, IELTS is about 1,700 Ghana cedis, and then the Duolingo is about 300 Ghana cedis. That's the equivalent of $50. So if it's not nursing you want to study, then perhaps you may want to look at the Duolingo, which is a cheaper option.
So Solomon is asking, do you provide direct entry BSc to PhD programs with scholarships?
Okay, so there are scholarships for PhD programs that is available, but they're not part of our normal coursework Go Beyond scholarships. So there are separate research scholarships that are announced every year. So basically, the round usually opens in about April and closes in about August the year before. So the round scholarship for research for 2022 has closed and has been announced, but we'll open again in April for 2023.
What I would just mention is that for PhD applications, you need a master's degree. So you cannot just do a bachelor's degree and then straight on to a PhD from there. If you want a master's degree that links into PhD, then the master by research becomes your next level if you are looking at a PhD in the future. Yeah, but certainly you need a master's degree to apply. Also, you need to have an admissions before you can actually apply for the scholarships, the PhD scholarship as well. So you need to plan early so that you can meet the scholarship deadlines if you want to put in an application for that. There's a hand up. We may give that hand an opportunity to ask. Yeah.
Okay.
So my question is, you talked about a 3-year Preyear registration. Can you please give me more?
Okay. So if I understand, I think he's asking for more information on the 3-year pre-registration course.
Basically, what you would need to apply for that program is you would need your academic results from your secondary school, so your WASI results, as well as you'd need to meet the English requirements of an IELTS 7 or the equivalent of an IELTS 7 and a 7 in each band score. So if you're asking, there's no other requirements other than meeting those two things. So basically the entry requirements is 26 points, if that's what you mean in terms of academic requirements. So if that doesn't make sense to you, I'm sure that Ishmael and Bess can convert that for you.
So let me just add that we provide advice on course selection. So when we are processing your application for admissions, we would definitely let you know exactly what you need to meet the course requirement at the university. So we would do some work there with you to let you know whether you are eligible or not. Yeah.
Okay. Melissa talked about scholarships that prospective nursing students can get, but I realized that there was no 100% scholarships. I don't know. Can you please? I want to know whether it is possible for someone to have 100% scholarship.
Yeah, it's really only research scholarships that have 100% scholarships, and they're quite limited in terms of how much they're awarded. Like there's not a lot. So there's also Australia Awards, which is something you could look into yourself, but they're quite different. So you'd have to like go and do a bit of research on that. Or there's research scholarships. Apart from that, basically, there's no other full scholarships in Australia for coursework.
So I see one that says, is there a program without IELTS that do not need IELTS? So the straightforward answer is that yes and no, depending on the course you are intending to study and the level at which you are studying that program. So at Best Educations, definitely will advise you whether you would need an IELTS or not. Yeah. There any social science?
So a lot of our health programs do have an IELTS 7 requirement. That's when you would need to sit an IELTS or equivalent English test, like Duolingo. However, some of our programs, a lot of our programs, particularly anything within business, IT, engineering, even some of our health science programs, you won't need to sit an English test as long as you've studied within the last 5 years. So if the requirement for the program is like a 6.0, the equivalent of a 6 or a 6.5, because you've been studying in the last 5 years, we wouldn't ask for an English test. However, if the program has that high 7 requirement, that's when you'd need to provide a test of some sort, whether it's Duolingo, IELTS, PTE.
Okay, great. But there's a very important question here which asks that, can somebody use a WASI after 10 years of graduating from high school and have an IELTS? Can somebody use that certificate to apply after 10 years of completing high school?
I think the main thing, so the issue that the key thing there is that if that's the last bit of your study that you've done, if you haven't done anything in the last 10 years, it could be quite difficult for you to get a visa. So it's not really about whether you'd meet the admissions requirements with that WASI certificate. It's more about whether you could get a visa, because the question that the Department of Home Affairs would wonder is that if you studied 10 years ago and then you haven't studied since, why would you want to come and spend that money to study abroad when you could have been doing study for the last 10 years in Ghana? So it just raises a question. So it can make it difficult to get that visa. They'd call that a study gap. So that could just make it potentially quite hard to get a visa. So it depends on your situation, and probably best to speak with the best education team about that one-on-one.
And just to add to that, to Melissa's response, in a case like that, if let's say you finish senior high school and you've been actively working, and there are evidence to show that you were actually working, and you're now coming to study in a course that is related to the work that you're doing, then there can be some justification made there. But in the case where you probably are not working officially, or you're just doing, petty jobs here and there, it can be very difficult to justify those kind of activities. And therefore, it might be difficult to get a visa in that. But we can always have a one-on-one discussion to find the best way forward for you. Melissa, there's a question here. If somebody has a background other than health, management, anything, and now wants to do nursing or public health, would that person be admissible? What would be your response?
So they've done a bachelor level program?
Yes,
and now
the
they're wanting
bachelor level, yeah, maybe in accounting, in aviation, in any course at all other than health. And now
they're wanting to study a health program.
That's it, yeah.
So I'd say that it is going to be a lot easier if you if you're going into a related field, or you can at least show a link between your previous study and what you're now wanting to study, or if you've been working within the field that you're now looking to study within. So it just, and this is not from an admissions perspective as much, it's more from that what they call GTE positioning. So for that visa side, so it needs to make sense as to why you would be now wanting to change direction. So if you have, for instance, studied something like, let's say, microbiology, and then you've been a teacher for the last, 10 years, whatever, and then now or 5 years, let's say, and now you're wanting to do a master's in education or teaching, something like that. Okay, well, that makes a bit of sense because it relates to the work that you've been doing. But I think it could be quite challenging for you to get approved if you were, say, an accountant and now you're wanting to study public health, unless you'd have been doing some sort of related work that can sort of show the reason, and your plan as to why you're wanting to change direction.
Yeah, thank you very much. Can we move to the second segment of the discussion? Because I think a lot of our students will be interested in this area. And this is where also we can demonstrate value for money, because whatever, the fees are expensive. So what can they get back, in terms of finance when they are studying? So Melissa, could you start off with what are the employment opportunities for students during their studies, when they are on vacation, and then after the completion of their course? So you can also bring in the internship, work placement that are offered by many of the courses that Flinders offers, and whether these internships are paid or non-paid.
Sure. So firstly, what I would say is that when you're studying on campus, when your classes are in session, so you have 2 semesters a year that go for about 12 weeks each. And while your classes are in session, you can work 20 hours a week or 40 hours a fortnight. And that's part of your visa condition, just because your focus is to do your studies when you're here. When you're on break, so there's about 3 to 4 weeks break in the middle of the year, and then there's about 6 weeks break at the end of the year, 6-7 weeks break, might be longer actually. It's from November to say March, so it's quite a long break. You can work unlimited during that time. So a lot of students use their break period and work a lot and save up during that time. In Australia, we have, even for jobs in a supermarket or in hospitality or in care work, they're very well paid. So we have a very strong labour sort of regulations in Australia that employers have to follow. So, and minimum wage is about $19 an hour. So it is very good minimum wage. Now, I will say though, that even though $19 or $18.80, something like that, nearly $19 an hour, even though that's a lot, you do also need to factor in that, it's not as cheap to live in Australia as it is in Ghana. So there is extra cost as well. So you do need to factor that in. But as a lot of students find, you can, live quite cheaply in Australia too. You cook your own food, you live with other students, like there's ways of minimizing your costs quite a lot. So that's the first thing. I will say it's really important not to rely, especially when you first arrive, that on 100% everything on your working. That would put a lot of pressure on you. So you would need to have a sponsor, especially for that period that you're settling in, that's going to be covering you so that you're not really stressed, to make sure you can, cover everything. Then in terms of once you graduate, so through your studies, you do a lot of work placement. So you'll have internships, depending on what course you're doing. So nursing, you'll do 1,000 placement hours. Also within social work, you will. Now, most placements that are included into your degree are not paid. They're for you to build your experience, to build your network. They do lead to most students finding a job in the area that they are studying in. So because you're a student learning, they're general and they're part of your degree, they're subjects that you tick off, then they're not usually paid. They're usually more of an opportunity, seen as an opportunity to learn and train. But obviously it helps for once you've graduated, you've already made these networks connections. So I'll give you a bit of an example. Many of our students that are studying nursing are working as what they call care workers or care support workers in Australia. And this is not even paid. This is not paid at minimum wage. This is paid very well. I'm not going to guess, but I would say it's within the probably $20 to $35 an hour range. I don't know 100%, so don't quote me on that. I'd have to look it up. But it is a higher level, and they work in aged care facilities, mental health care areas, and it's quite there's an abundance of that type of work, and it is related to nursing. So a lot of our nursing students will do that type of work while they're studying because they can get those jobs quite easily. They're well paid. And then also it's helping them for once they've graduated, they've already got their foot in the door to some of these places. They can move up into the higher level positions once they've graduated. So that just gives you, that's just focused on nursing, but you could look at that across the board, like social work, similar. You do those placements within that that are part of your degree, but you also can work within a related field where you're studying and support yourself somewhat. I'm not going to say fully, because I feel like that's not responsible to say that, but it is, you can support yourself, fairly well, is what I would say. So graduate outcomes in Australia, I think if you're picking things within health, social work, STEM, anything in those sort of areas, they're all key growth areas. We have a lot of job we can't fill in Australia right now. Like, we have a severe shortage of skilled people right now. It's made 100% worse because we can't get any people into the country right now. So we're really missing having our talented international students here and people coming into our country to help fill those gaps. So as soon as Australian borders are open, I can tell you that there is going to be a lot of opportunities, because there already is. Like, there's many jobs that we can't fill right now.
Thank you, Melissa. There's still two issues that I want us to address, and I'm conscious of time, so we're going to be very quick. At the moment, students have to study online. And for our part of the world in Ghana, studying online sometimes is not the best option. But I want us to demystify some of the myths and elevate people's scares about studying online. So could you briefly tell us how the online study is structured, so that when people have to begin their studies online, they are comfortable and they know that they will still be successful at the end of the day?
Absolutely. So firstly, we would not expect offshore online students to be studying full-time, not at all. You could choose one topic or two topics if you wanted to maximum. So firstly, your student load would be greatly reduced, because obviously we understand that you're working, you've got other commitments while you're still in Ghana. Secondly, what happens is whatever happens in the Australian time zone that you're not able to attend due to the time is recorded. So you can go back and watch it at your convenience. You're not expected to stay up to attend lectures. So it is fine in that way. Now, also in terms of the online portal, so for me, I'm currently still a student at Flinders. Like I did my undergraduate degree at Flinders, and now I'm doing my postgraduate degree at Flinders as well. So even as for me here onshore in Australia, I'm doing it online through the online portal. So the same as what you would be. I'm doing one topic online through the online portal. I can watch it at my convenience. I can access all the readings on the online portal. I can communicate through the chat on there. They make it as interactive as they can online. Great resourcing, great teaching, academic staff supporting you online. So yeah, you can feel comfortable that you'd start with one topic and you'd be very supported in an online environment. The other thing I'll say is that, as I'm sort of indicating, it's going to be basically the people who have started online are going to be prioritized coming into the country. So over the last year, we've already had students start online. So they'll be the first ones coming in as the borders open. So that's why I would be encouraging you, if you're considering, wanting to come to Australia, start online, start with one topic, get your visa submitted, get yourself in the queue basically, so that you can enter, as soon as you can.
A few concluding remarks from me is that, studying in Australia is not cheap. We're going to be honest about that. But then there are opportunities that allows you to make or to recoup the investment that you are putting into your education. And I did just back of the envelope calculation here. During your long semester breaks, when you are working full-time, roughly, and assuming you were even making a minimum wage of $19 per hour, it means in the day, if you're working just normal, working 8 hours, you're going to be making just about 1,000, Australian dollars per week. So in a month, that's working around 4,200 Australian dollars a month. And this is quite substantial, so you're going to be able to save up and be able to live comfortably and take care of yourself. So eventually it's going to pay off. After your studies, when you complete your degree, you are eligible for a 3-year post-study work visa, especially in Adelaide, to remain and work full-time. And after that, subsequently, you may be eligible for a permanent residency. So I think there are structures in place, and coupled with all of that Melissa have said, to ensure that you recruit the investment that you are putting into. At Best Education, we are here to help you succeed. We are here to help you succeed, and we have put in place all the services and the structures to ensure that you get well-informed information to be able to make an informed decision, and therefore you are going to be successful. I'm proud to say that we have 100% visa success rate at Best Education Services. So all our students who are going to Australia, everyone gets their visas, and this is because of the thorough work that we do with our students. So this is just a brief summary about us. We would be sending you links to these recordings as well as our contact details. Many of you would have our contact details already. Our office is located at Shashi in Accra. We are open from Mondays to Saturdays. So feel free to get in touch with us and let's get the process started. Melissa, you have the last words.
Thank you. I think I've said most of the main points that I'll say is that absolutely, if you're considering it, start online, start with one topic, get yourself in the queue for being able to come into the country. Australia is, I know countries like the US talk about themselves as the land of opportunity and things like that, but, Australia really is, like, there is so much opportunity in this country. It's a very safe, it's very welcoming, very inclusive, very multicultural. We have, like, Australia is basically a mixing pot of people. Everybody has come from somewhere else. And so basically you are all seen as Australian straight away. You don't really, like, it's a very integrated culture. So you'll be very welcome and very safe, and you'll have lots of opportunity here. And our state in particular is really keen to South Australia. They put out a policy called Study, Live, Stay. And you can look that up, the South Australian government, and they're really about attracting talented people into our state and then giving them opportunity to stay here. Because as I mentioned, we need skilled, talented people. There's lots of roles that we need to fill. So come and do your studies. Come to Flinders. We have an amazing campus, excellent facilities, great teaching staff, really good support for you, and an excellent environment. So come and study with us and, yeah, have those opportunities.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thank you, everybody, for taking time to participate in today's webinar. This is not going to be the last. Please follow up on our socials, and there will be lots of information we'll be putting out there, different offers, different universities, and so forth. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure hosting you. My name is Ishmael, General Manager, Best Education Services.
Thank you, Ishmael, and thank you to the Best Education, our agent in Ghana, that can help you with your application.